farm wouldn't be too bad. But it is a very annoying hero to deal with in mid lane. She's got evasion, so can dodge out a few of the poison attacks from Viper, but again, it's very matchup specific.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I think if you get the poor man's shield up early, you can pick up a casual point and blur. It's probably a manageable lane, but we'll have to see what MVP choose to do. So, Invasion cards are kind of on the table right now. Only question is whether or not Beastmaster is going to be support or if he's going to be off lane, but I feel like he's probably just going to be off lane, and it looks like MVP kind of agrees. They end up banning out the Rubik here. Zeus is the ban from Invasion. I think pretty heads up there. Can be very annoying to play against as the Tinker because there's always a way to scout you out. And would also be pretty decent counter push against the kind of strategy that Invasion are looking towards here. If this were pre-nerf, I would definitely start mentioning Glimmer Cape as an option for the Tinker, and I feel like he might still be a hero that can sustain it under certain circumstances, but we'll have to see what who's going to end up playing it, and then what kind of build they're going to be going for here. Because Invasion do have a couple of Tinker players on the roster.
Oh, 5th pick, I agree. Beastmaster most likely looking towards that off lane. Lion is going to be their hero, so adding a couple of disables to their arsenal, so they're in nuke damage up against the PA, and that's a March Warlock.
It's an MVP special. So I've got the Warlock picked up for March. The Lion, of course, not nearly as good a counter to the Phantom Assassin as it used to be, now that Hex no longer removes passive abilities, no longer removes evasion by default, but burst damage is still a fantastic way to deal with the hero, and some good lockdown, not going to go miss either. Invasion did have some initiation already off of the Beastmaster, but it's not going to hurt too much adding some in from the Lion. And while it is a little bit greedy running both Chen and Lion, the ideal for Invasion here is that they're picking up some early tier 1 towers, and that gold is going to start funding the Lion's Blink Dagger anyway. So I think that should work out pretty nicely. I do like the way that MVP Phoenix have approached this though. They picked up a lot of AoE teamfight, and Fatal Bonds actually looks terrifying against this MVP, well, with this MVP lineup. They've got Earthshaker damage to throw in, Witch Doctor, Death Ward, and then not to mention the Lesh, which is going to end up being core here for MVP as KP picks it up. And it looks like MVP, just the exact same move as they went for in the previous game, but this time around it looks like they are going to be sticking around for the aggressive tri-lane, as March is already making his way over towards the top lane, and Warlock is actually a phenomenal 1v1 hero, especially in these side lanes.
Yeah, I was always surprised that we didn't see it a little more often against heroes like
Boons
Sniper.
runs just right past MVP, runs around the corner back towards his tower, and the Fissure's not quite right. The Split Earth not going to catch him, and the dagger flies in, but they won't find that kill. That was so close. If he'd been just a couple of seconds later, then he would have been here, as MVP had come around through here, but it just so happened that they both fogged one another going left to right, and Boons just manages to sneak out there. So okay, he got pretty lucky, but what are MVP up to over here in the jungle? They've got some wards, I think, considering exactly where they want to try and block things out. They do just plop an observer ward right down in the middle of the camp, but and Chen's already got some sentries, but looks like Extinct, thinking that his entire jungle might be blocked up, is going to just start heading over towards top lane at the moment, and we'll be applying some pressure to start with from there.
Yeah, this PA against Tinker matchup, it's like thinking about it now, when you want to try and trade hits as a Tinker or go for last hits, you want to laser to stop the opponent from getting a last hit, or when you're trading hits, normally against a ranged hero. Here, Slicks has to be very conservative with his laser usage, because if QO hits level 2 and starts getting dagger and blink forward, that's when you want to hold the laser for. But if he starts throwing them out willy-nilly onto QO just to try and, stop him from getting last hits in, he's, like, very early on, obviously, it's going to be the normal way. But once QO starts getting levels up into that blink forward, things can get a little bit rough for the Tinker.
Yeah, it could get interesting. We've actually got a run in towards mid lane at the moment from Boons. I don't know quite what he's planning here. He just shows up mid lane and he's like, oh, nope, I'm going towards top. Never mind. We've got a Dark Troll ready for Extinct to try and make his way down from the high ground here, but looks like instead they might be teaming up and looking for a smoke. Warlock definitely a hero that's somewhat vulnerable to a Lion plus Chen smoke gank early on here, and Invasion deciding that they just don't want to fight this aggressive tri-lane in the slightest. So they're just going to leave WTF down bottom on the Viper to soak up what he can. and look to break up the tri-lane with pressure elsewhere.
Now an aggressive dual lane as KP and Febby are both down here. Where's Warnot's gone off to?
He's roaming.
Wandering around.
Wandering.
He has actually gone back to block the mid creep wave as this Witch Doctor.
That's
the true support. The true support style.
Oh wait, he's not ferrying the bottle again, is he?
Looks like it.
Maybe he's just escorting the courier this time around.
Worried about the chain. Yeah, he's pinging it out.
He's pinging the high ground. He's like, oh, there might be a ward here, there might be a Chen here. Okay, he's just making sure that that sexy Warnuts makes it all the way down mid. That's his courier.
Is that what it's called?
Yep.
I was wondering for a second, what? What's going on?
No, you gotta have these. Gotta have a special courier.
Shaitan up at top, taking a hefty amount of damage from March. It has been 1v1, but now Boons has joined, like you said. Maybe they can start putting a little bit more pressure onto this Warlock up at top. Nuts will join him, and this cask is a pretty big skill, even though it's only level 1 up against the Dark Troll and Chen, just bouncing between them all. The board does add another little target in there.
Got a random skeleton just scouting out Nuts at the moment, so he's going to have to deal with that before he continues to make his way over towards top. Checking in on mid lane, I think somewhat as expected, Slick's doing a bit better than QO here. 16-6 up against the 11-1 Phantom Assassin. Slick's a skill build, nothing too shocking just yet. He is picking up 2 points up in the laser, but he's holding on to his other skill points, just waiting for an opportunity though. Looks like now as some pressure starts to come in, and he is going to start looking towards the 4-minute rune, just going to pick up those 2 points in the march and try and force QO back, who does end up taking a lot of damage off of that March of the Machines, but still has plenty of tangos and a bottle sip, and looks like he's going to be alright to sustain himself here on the mid lane.
There was like a gap where there were no March, and QO jumps forward, but yeah, there was like a gap where there was no March, and there's just one big block of a bunch of machines that QO walked into to try and get that last hit.
Yeah,
a ton of damage coming out. Yeah. On the high ground, Extinct getting ready to go in. The perfect combination of creeps, Dark Troll and Centaur. With Lord Boons here, level 2, they've got so much disabled to come down onto this PA.
Yeah, they need to be a little bit careful with how they time this, as the creep wave is coming in and QO might be able to blink back. They run that off the high ground without a smoke, and during daytime, if they'd waited just a few more seconds, night would have settled in, and I think that would have been a much easier gank, or they could have popped the smoke as mentioned, but I think QO realizing that he's being pressured, though he's going to be alright, and actually just start swinging down towards bottom lane to try and look for the bounty that's there, but nice little play there from WTF. Sneaks around the ogres inside the camp and actually denies it from the high ground.
Oh man, this isn't something we see too often. Face boots on Beastmaster. This used to be the old build when you would go for the max inner Beast aura, just to get as much damage as you can with the attack speed. But in this lane, it's mainly just to get as many last hits as you possibly can in there. His base damage is good already, but if you can run at the Warlock, get some last hits in, then harass him down as March gets caught. Dark Troll followed by Centaur Stomp. The Chen is here, and Earthspike to follow. March going to be the first blood here. He can't heal through the damage. Warnuts and KP try to turn things around and will do so with a kill onto Chen, but they don't get the first blood, and they don't find any further kills.
Yeah, and that is going to draw the Lesh away from bottom lane, so I think Invasion are going to call that a pretty big success. They do need to start picking up some farm on the Viper so that he can get his mech at some stage so that they can continue this push pressure, and, well, without the Lesh down there, it should start to become a lot easier for the Viper. Warlock is going to be making his way down, so March continuing to chase, and it actually looks like they want to just try and get WTF out of this lane almost immediately. Those phase boot auto attacks do really hurt when coming from the Warlock. I got another cask bouncing top lane. Shaitan managed to split away from his boar. It's going to get stunned forever and will be brought down, but he's okay with that. Meanwhile, Slicks has picked up his soul ring already. Normally this would indicate that you've got some kind of stacks to clear on the Tinker, but no sign of that just yet, so that might fall to the Chen to start setting those up now that he's actually back in his own jungle, but this is going to delay the Boots of Travel somewhat from Slicks. Though he is still continuing to find really good farm in the mid lane, 35-9 against the 29-2 Phantom Assassin. They jump in mid, but Fisher from Febby not quite ideal, though Q is coming back in. The Blink Strike's still on cooldown for a little while, and Slicks does just manage to skirt back to the safety of that tower. MVP actually have 2 heroes up at the top rune as well, just camping out this double damage, which Q is going to come in and grab. If that Fisher had been on the right side, Tinker's 100% dead.
Oh, bot lane March. He's getting right-click down. Viper finds the kill in there with the help of Chen. And WTF, you know, he's hit level 4.5, he's getting there, he's picking up a few last hits. March is doing decently, but when you get roamed on like that, you've died up at top, died at bottom lane. Phase boots, sure, great for the 1v1 matchup you had, but against these heroes coming in, you've got very limited stats outside of the actual stats you've skilled up, going for this 0-3-0-1 build. Yeah,
and Warlock is pretty time sensitive as well as a hero. There's so much yelling going on. Other studios go nuts, guys. But anyway, Warlock very time sensitive as a hero. It feels like if you're not picking up your Aghanim Scepter at a decent enough clip, you're starting to get towards the point where somebody on the enemy team, I think that double damage is getting used mid, but there's also a Warlock Golem getting dropped off bottom lane, and that's going to be the end of WTF, but Kyo comes diving in towards Slicks. The rocket and everything else has already been used. How many of these shots can he dodge? Not nearly enough, as it does end up being a 1-for-1 trade mid lane, and the Viper going down bot as they chaotic offering gets dropped on his head, but
they're looking up at top as well. They're smoked up with the Chen and the Lion. It does wear off. They've got Dark Troll, a little Tomato, and a Santa, so they've got plenty of lockdown, nuke damage, slow, and KP on this Leshrac. 606 HP, 4 armor, plus the 3 from the Basilius. One swing from Wild Axes to clear out these trees. They're going to get vision of him and see him pretty damn easily. Lord Boon's pinged out. They know he's here, but where's the follow-through? Okay, they've seen him. The hole comes down. Boon's stunned with the Earth Spike, and KP turns on Pulse Nova to try and turn a good split Earth onto one, and now QO comes in, crits him down. Shaitan, is there a stun from Febby? He's not going to get there in time.
Shaitan just barely escapes it. 2 lose Boons in the process. Chen Creep's also going to try and get out of here. But it looks like they're not going to be quite so lucky as they will be brought down. Tier 1 ends up falling bottom lane at the same time, and MVP kind of get the double whammy out of that defense, both getting the kill and managing to save on to their own Tier 1 tower here. Slicks has managed to pick up a regen rune, and March is still going to continue to find it a little bit hard to find a home on this map right now, though it does have 31 CS to his name and does have his Gloves of Haste picked up after that last gank down bot. So it looks like pretty standard March build, just going to be going into Midas, Ags, Refresher, more than likely. And yeah, he's been ganked a couple of times, but he's looking decent on net worth. And I actually think I'm a little bit more worried for this Lesh.
Oh yeah.
Overall.
I was going to bring this up. It's definitely nowhere near the same as he's had in the last couple of games, where he's had jungle stacked up completely. You know, they've had large camp, medium camp, all stacked up on the dire side just for him. While, yeah, you're pointing out the Tinker does have some big stacks getting built up for him. So Leshrac, very item dependent. His levels, you know, he'd like a point in edict and things like that, but it's mainly the Bloodstone. You want that as fast as you possibly can, start racking up kills and pushing into these towers. They've dropped the tier 1 at bot, but they will be looking towards the tier 1 at top pretty soon. And KP, where does he find room to breathe here? Because Lion and Chen, they're making MVP's life a living hell.
Yeah, that's really tough. At the moment, MVP are spread somewhat thin. They've got a decent ward top. Same kind of story as the ward over on mid lane, but they're actually rotating down towards bottom right now, which is a little bit interesting. You just got a couple of heroes chilling out. Witchstock is actually just behind over in the trees. I don't know what they're expecting to find here. With the tier 1 down bottom lane, Invasion are, I think, much less likely to try and go for this safe lane tier 1 as the first big objective. It looks like MVP are mainly just trying to grab a little bit of map control. Kyo's going to rotate over and join KP on this mid lane. Dagger gets lobbed towards Boons, but he's all the way underneath his tier 1 tower, so I think he's going to be just fine. And Shaitan, seeing all of these heroes on the map, is going to just take this as an opportunity to go and get some more damage done on this tier 1. There's actually no glyph available, and MVP looks like they are not at all interested in trying to defend this one. They're going to try and go for a tier 1 tower of their own in mid lane, though there's only 2 heroes over here. I don't know what these supports are doing from MVP right now.
I think it's a move to try and secure this Midas for March, because he is very close to it.
That's true.
And the fact that the Chen, he's been missing off the map for quite some time. You know, he's not in your jungle, and he's got to be either towards the mid lane or bot lane from his own jungle. The fact March is now pushed so far past where the old tier 1 from Radiant used to be. QO is caught.
Netted and stomped, but there's not enough follow-up. There are heroes making their way over. I think the other thing that MVP might have been looking for were any kind of stacks from the Chen or the Tinker. Because like I said, the Soul Ring on the Tinker is somewhat of a clue that there are stacks for him to clear. Or he's anticipating clearing some stacks to finish off his Boots of Travel. And seeing that, they may have thought, okay, maybe he hasn't cleared these just yet, and we can actually be the team to go and steal them since the tier 1 is down. But MVP come running in very aggressively here on the mid lane, getting good damage onto the tier 1, but there is a glyph available. They're all stacked up as the March of the Machines try and get over and slow things down, but they're just a tiny bit short. Slick's going to throw out some rank 2 heat-seeking missiles, but that's about it. Shatan's still been quietly farming away on top lane this entire time, and he's actually your net worth leader overall right now. So good game from him. And we'll have to see if he can keep this up moving forward. Extinct tries for the deny using his creeps and his hero in tandem there, but it's actually going to be KP who picks up the last of them at tier 1 mid, and that's going to help sort of bring him back up to par. You were asking how exactly MVP were going to catch him up and where he was going to be able to farm, but looks like they've got that covered.
Yeah, and Shatan, has he bought anything just yet? 2,200 gold. A Blink Dagger is, saving that much money is sort of indicative of Blink, just waiting until he's got that so you can jump on heroes like the PA, the Lashrak, and catch them out. The Hawk, the
in with the Hawk, but there's 4 heroes from MVP inbound. They have to get this kill and get out pretty quickly. Shatan running in, looking for the Roar, is going to drop it. Slick's forced to rearm once so that he gets more nukes out. But the Chaotic Offering gets dropped. It catches on both. Slick's running over into the trees, looking for the Boots of Travel out. Looks like he's going to make it. No, neither TP is going to end up being successful. They bring in the Tinker of the trees with some chain stun, and the cask canceled. The Shatan TP out. Great play from MVP, splitting fire with the stuns and getting both kills end of the day.
Yeah, QO does lose a hefty amount of gold there. 269 gone down the drain. And as we're speaking about this fight, Viper buys a Midas. Chen is the one going for mech. Viper Midas, just with brown boots. 13 minutes in, he's been shot down a fair amount, so...
I appreciate that he's behind, and I guess we're just going to throw this in the comeback Midas category for the most part, but... it looks like they're shifting gears somewhat. I'm not sure how much of a fan I am of it. Kyogo's jumping in here onto some Chen creeps, but he's going to get bursted pretty heavily. Slicks comes out and just nukes him down. I don't know what that was about from QO. Just thought that Invasion were retreating, but they've got more heroes down here than he was anticipating. And QO going to die for the second time in as many minutes. His BKB now starting to get further and further away. And it's actually Invasion who are kind of back on the front foot. Shatan's picked up his Blink Dagger. Has a TP scroll, but unfortunately won't be all that easy for him to get down to this bottom lane. So it's just the 4 heroes for Invasion looking for this push right now. But what do you make of this Viper Midas? I like Midas on Viper from an attack speed and a comeback perspective, but it seems a little bit out of line with what the overall game plan is. Though, sizing up the 2 lineups, I feel like they're actually pretty well positioned to drag this into the late game. Beastmaster scales well. Tinker, of course, scales fantastically. And I guess the other thing to mention for the Viper is that when you've got a hero like Tinker on the team, he can end up soaking almost all of the farm. And because of that, Midas helps you quite a bit in terms of actually staying caught up and making sure that you're relevant. So
I was always a big advocate of Midas on Viper after mech. Actually, bot lane, March gets caught, stunned up, TP's coming in, and this Warlock, Slicks just comes down and rocket laser. But yeah, Viper with Midas, I was always a big advocate after mech, the fact that you can't flash farm, and a lot of the time, you're pushing into towers and your farm isn't going to be optimal, not going to be efficient. You'll be pushing waves and maybe missing 1 or 2 here. He cannot flash farm. He can't go into the jungle or ancients and take them down very quickly, and yeah, you're right, with the Tinker. He's just going to be pushing out these lanes. There's going to be no room to breathe. And the fact that Tinker has been given space, Viper has been the martyr here. He's had no farm whatsoever, died once, 3 assists, but the fact that Tinker has been given the room he needs, is 100 gold away from Blink Dagger now, 15.5 minutes in. It's Viper's turn. He needs to get into, S&Y, BKB, something that gives him a little more survivability and damage, just to stand there, allow Tinker to get multiple cycles of his spells off, and not just, go in, march, rocket laser, rearm, but also TP back to base and then come back in and get another multiple cycles off.
Yeah, he's definitely going to need a couple of items to help him survive against the Phantom Assassin later on as well. So I like the Midas decision here, and we'll see how it ends up working out. I think it's looking even better with the way that they've managed to pick off this Phantom Assassin a couple of times back-to-back. And worth noting, of course, that QO is not going for a farming item. He is going for pretty much the biggest fighting item that he can. in the BKB right now. So if MVP don't immediately start to get things going on once this BKB is completed, Invasion could actually drag the game, continue to grab good farm, have that Midas kick in, and that's where things could get very difficult for this MVP side.
Yeah, I've seen some crazy things from Kuro's PA, going for like Masterman as Basher and stuff like that, just go absolutely nuts with the aggression, but the BKB is a necessity here, against Lion and Tinker in particular. You're just going to get nuked off the face of the map if you do go in, and QO, he likes to go in.
Yeah, that's definitely not an understatement by it. Okay, so Shaitan is just going... It would seem... Actually, does he need Necrobook? This could be a Force Staff, but it's probably just the Necrobook. It's too good on Beastmaster. The synergy with Inner Beast is actually ridiculous, and
it's really
the way that it works with Primal Roar.
Really good against Lesh and Warlock.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
That AoE splash taking down the little Necrobook warrior. And Leshrac, you know, he's always one of those heroes where you don't want to be forced to go a BKB, but in this game, he's kind of going to have to.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be something that he might have to look towards. Yule Scepter, again, looks pretty good this game, just like it did in the previous. I think, you know, if you get the Yules and the Tinker, then you should be pretty reliably able to bring him down just within your combo. And KP, we were a little bit worried about him earlier on, but he's managed to settle in, get some farm, and gets the Bloodstone pretty much right on target. Yeah. And I think pretty much right on average for Lesh in this qualifier. So yeah, things still looking decent for him. MVP actually going to swing over towards Roshan. 5 heroes in the pit right now. They've got a medallion picked up somewhere. That's over on the Witch Doctor. And they're working away at Roche right now. What they don't know is that there is a Blink Dagger picked up over on the Lion. But it would seem that Invasion are none the wiser that... Oh, they should know. There's a ward over here, but looks like they're just going to try and take the Tier 2 and a Tier 1 as the exchange. And I like this decision from Invasion because, yes, as much as the Golden Experience are really nice for MVP, Invasion are controlling the map, and with their Tinker, I feel like they can stall at their Tier 2s easily for 5 minutes, to the point where they don't even need to worry about the Aegis, really.
Yeah, they
could pop it right now. They've got 3 heroes waiting here. They're going to go jumping in, blink, roar, finger, walk away. Aegis gone.
it never happened. So now all MVP are left with is the Golden Experience from Roshan. QO doesn't have the option to play aggressively, and I was just going to make the argument that Invasion don't even need to fight their Tier 2s. They can sort of just sit there and proxy with Chen creeps, March being spammed out, rocks and things like that. MVP would have to commit heavily behind a Tier 2 to actually go and fight head-on-head, which is what they want, right? Fatal Bonds, Golem, Leshrac running into everybody from Invasion. And without QO having the guaranteed jump in and survival, or at least, you know, reincarnate with Aegis the Immortal, what is their next plan? How do they gain any semblance of map control here? Because Shaitan is on the hunt again, looking for a little bit of damage down to QO maybe, but backs himself up. Meanwhile, over in the Radiant jungle, MVP, they're setting up shop. Got 4 heroes in here. The Radiant Ward observes all of them.
Yeah, this is not all that successful right now. March is getting quite close to his Aghanim Scepters. Looks like that might be what they're kind of waiting around for at the moment. They're pretty blind, so just kind of doing their best to stay grouped up and not present any opportunities for the Blink Lion, the Blink Beastmaster. I mean, heck, even just the Tinker by himself soon, with Slicks looking towards a Dagon right now to pick these guys off. And that is the one thing that's very scary about the Invasion lineup. You don't know necessarily when you're being scouted because of the Hawk. You don't know when the next gank is going to come, and if anybody is split off by themselves, they are definitely a very easy kill. Looks like this smoke gank, was it actually? It might have been somewhat spotted by this Radiant Observer. Got some mass pings coming out from Invasion, some lines being squiggled here and there. Boon's somewhat safely tucked up in the trees right now. Needs to be careful that he's as far back as he can get, otherwise the smoke might be revealed. And yeah, that was a very crucial Blink decision to go all the way back here. I think otherwise Nuts walking past might have been revealed, and they would have realized what's going on. The Boons would have had absolutely no indication waiting in the trees that he'd actually been kind of detected.
He knew exactly where they were. They killed off a bunch of Chen creeps just in this little area above the small camp, so he knew that Chen creeps were dying there. But again, you don't know exactly how many of MVP are around. You kind of see the split earth, a bit of lightning, maybe the jump forward from the PA, but apart from that, no indication for how many are running down you.
Yeah, and Invasion just gonna quite easily take this tier 1 tower down bot. Viper is still closing the gap on these MVP cores, but he's got his Yasha picked up now, so looking good on that front. And MVP just kind of running around in circles trying to find anyone on Invasion. I feel like from their perspective, they may not have seen anyone from Invasion for a little while here. I mean, if we switch it over to their vision, sure, Slicks is going to pop up from time to time as he's currently over on mid lane. Shaitan pokes his head forward for a second on top, but in general, they don't really have a whole lot of solid intel on what Invasion are up to. No, Extinct has his mech up now, so it looks like Viper not even going to have to grab that one for the team. Boons has been hiding in these trees for a while now. He's just waiting for somebody to farm a little bit too far out from MVP, and he's got some wards now as well, so he's going to be able to go and place those down.
Role-playing Hour 2000.
Exactly.
Hiding in the trees, just waiting. And this allows Beastmaster to push up pretty aggressively, knowing that the line's there ready and waiting. They can try
Necro 2's already up on this Beastmaster. Shaitan is actually having a really fantastic game thus far. I mean, he did get some pressure top lane to help out against the Warlock, so it's not like it was necessarily a 1v1 that he won, but he was doing pretty well, and he's taken this Blink Dagger and really opened up the map with it. I feel like this Invasion draft is looking pretty good, and MVP haven't really been able to adjust all that much. KP is going to be picking up that Yule Scepter that I was talking about, but QO is still not finding all that much farm.
They're attempting to push up to this tier 2. The March is a little bit off angle there. Not going to hit the creep wave, but look up at top as the creep wave comes in. Necro books, boards. KP forced the TP back to try and defend. And then mid lane, you've got the entire Chen army. Chen himself along with the Viper going away at the tier 2 at mid. Every way you look, MVP is trying to focus on one area, tunnel vision on one objective, thinking, okay, we can take a fight into the jungle, go and take this tower, try and do something. Invasion are multiple steps ahead. They've got people prepped and ready to push out other lanes. They're now farming dire jungle. Extinct and WTF have been this pairing for, what, the past 10 minutes or so. Chen and Viper. Bot lane, top lane, mid lane. They haven't left each other's side.
Yeah, and Invasion have just set up base camp inside of the dire jungle as well. They've got good vision covering the entrances. They're taking the farm there pretty consistently. Experience has dipped down a little bit towards 0, so I think MVP have managed to... The Midas on the Warlock is starting to kick him up on levels a little bit, and the Roshan helping out somewhat. And we are stabilizing around the 4K net worth lead, so nothing ridiculous for Invasion. MVP are still finding their farm, but they still aren't finding any of the Invasion heroes just yet.
Yeah, Febby is going to get his Blink Dagger after this. If he can take these couple of creeps, maybe a couple of creeps at top as well. And Blink Dagger could be pretty damn big up against a couple of heroes that are pushing into these multiple lanes. But Slicks has his Dagon level 1. Now he's just bought himself a Ghost Scepter, and he hasn't been touched since he got his BOTs, really. He died twice. He's got himself 3 kills. And there hasn't really been an answer from MVP. The BKBs that QO got still on 10 seconds. This could have been a farming item.
Yeah, I think right now MVP are sitting around kind of twiddling their thumbs and looking at the fact that, okay, we've got a BKB and we've got the Aghanim Scepter on our Warlock. And we haven't been allowed to use either of them in the way that we'd like just yet. So we'll have to see. They did have a little bit of vision over on the Radiant side of the map, but the constant slip push is kind of keeping them bunched up. And it looks like they might just be farming towards an opportunity. I don't think they're guaranteed by any means to lose if this game drags on, so they're probably not feeling a whole lot of pressure from that perspective. And the scary thing for Tinker, especially as the game gets later, is that you start to become a bigger and bigger part of your team, but you don't really become all that much more survivable, and the items that exist to catch you out only get better as the game proceeds, as you have more and more things to juggle as well. You get hexed once you die, you get bashed once you die, Abyssal Blade comes up on the Phantom Assassin, and at that point it almost doesn't matter how much farm you have. So, I mean, while it looks like right now MVP are getting pressured and that they might be in a little bit of trouble, actually a jump bottom lane It's like Smoke Out MVP did manage to find just the Chen, and they're going to drop an Echo Slam on his head and finish off Extinct, but...
Just look at QO. He's gone back for the Battle Fury, 26 minutes into this game, and right now, Invasion, they're looking to push high ground.
Boons is still in these trees. This is like getting to the point where this is a regular game. We'd be thinking about AFK Abandons, who've got the same kill top lane. QO pokes his head just a tiny bit outside of the base, and Shaitan comes roaring out of the fog.
That ward is really good.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, actually, the one that's inside the base.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, what's the vision situation from that? So it kind of comes up over here, gives you a little pizza slice of the tower. And this is honestly actually a spot right here back behind the tower that people will stand and feel like they're safe. So,
even if it's just that small bit, that's such valuable information.
Yeah. And didn't have to cut down any trees or anything to place that one. So, well, there you go. Boons is becoming one with the jungle the more time he spends with it at the moment.
I think a big thing there also is you can put the Hawk up on the sort of tree area where the observer ward is, send Tinker in, and spam rockets out.
Oh yeah, very true, very true. Becomes a extremely potent high ground sieging opportunity with that. So, and I don't know how MVP are gonna figure this out and de-ward it. They're probably just gonna think that it's a Hawk.
Yeah, how do they see us? How do they know we're here?
Now we've got a gem picked up for the Beastmaster, so Invasion really hammering home this vision superiority. They got multiple heroes TPing in top lane. Rory's off cooldown again, and they spot March. Just farming a little ways outside of the base right now. They do see QO a bit further up, and MVP do have a few heroes here. They need to respect Febby as well. A couple of pings coming out from MVP as they realize that there is a ward waiting to scout them out up on the high ground, but Slick's going to tenderize them a bit with the rockets. And then they might look to go in, though. 5-on-5, still probably not on the menu for Invasion right now, especially given that I do have heroes just sort of farming off on the other side of the map. What do you make of this Viper's item build?
The Shadow Blade?
Here, yeah, we've got the Shadow Blade up for WTF. Do you like it?
I think it's pretty surprising for MVP. I don't know if they've seen the Viper in the past 5 minutes. He's sort of just been moving from camp to camp.
Yeah.
It's been difficult to keep track of him. And
well, he's almost surpassed all of the MVP cores, so the Midas Yasha farming build has worked wonders for him.
Now that Febby has a gem, I was going to say it forces MVP Phoenix to buy Dust or Sentries Shaker, just try and de-ward as much as he can with the help of lag, just a tiny little bit there, but with the help of, you know, the Witch Doctor and the Warlock, just run around and try and de-ward as much as they can. I don't know what the Shadow Blade offers you aggressively, because MVP have been grouping up in this game right now. Maybe later on they're going to be looking to take down tier 3s and, you know, do some cheeky little moves there, get into the Roche pit and possibly make a move around that. But right now it is served as a farming tool.
Yeah, and the correct answer is that Silver Edge is amazing against Phantom Assassin.
Oh.
But also all of that as well.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
I only realized halfway through.
we're rambling on about, yeah. And then, oh yeah, passive.
That definitely helps to get rid of that evasion there. So I think that's the big angle that is getting targeted here by WTF. And, well, Invasion just going to continue split pushing. We've got Tinker leveling up his Dagon. Dagon level 3 grabbed right now. And Febby. Let's see, what's he got? He's just running around with that gem. We just talked about this pickup. Invasion. There is something really great to watch in disciplined split push. You look at the MVP side, and we just saw them dismantle 5-Eva, absolutely no problem in the previous series. And here they are just kind of struggling to do anything against the guerrilla warfare tactics that Invasion are employing right now. Shaitan's going to come in, remove some more vision. They've got more of these cheeky wards placed up on cliffs and over here, there, and everywhere. MVP are going to go in for another Roshan right now. Don't know if this has been scouted necessarily by Invasion, but looks like they are keen to just make their way up onto the high ground. Glyph is available for MVP, so they can stick around here a little bit longer. And they are going to be sending KP back to try and defend, but he might get jumped. Lord Boons waiting outside. The roar comes in. There's the Finger of Death, and the lone defender will not be enough. Master P is now coming back. March drops the chaotic offering, but it's not on anything. No stun. No, nothing. They do the Fissure out, and the Echo Slam is going to finish off the Lion. Slicks looking for a blink out here, trying to rearm over in the fog. He finds it, jumping over towards the ward, and now the TP out attempted. Can they find him? They won't be able to. The Maledict, and they do finally get the ward as well. But they blow up the Leshrac. They completely waste the Chaotic Offering. And, well, they do manage to get Roshan.
QO finished it off, he picked it up.
Okay.
It was kind of funny watching the Roche pit after that fight. I don't think there's too much to analyze or look into in that fight, but Viper walked into the Roche pit as Roshan was dying. He just got picked up and QO was TPing out. And there was this Shadow-Bladed Viper like, oh, I wish I had a stun. Just seeing QO TP out and thinking, oh, I've got enough damage to kill him, I could do this.
If only I'd bought MKB.
Yes. Or just anything at all. Slicks though with the plays, rearming while Ghost stepped it up, blinking out.
I did not expect him to live there, but Slicks finds a way.
The limits of Tinker.
Yeah, definitely. And for MVP, they end up losing some Bloodstone charges on their Lesh. KP has a Gauntlet of Strength and an Ogre Club picked up at the moment, so...
Did he have that Gauntlet before?
He might have, honestly. It's probably just the BKB. Coming up for him. He's got some Boots of Travel as well, which I do like. We saw this in an earlier series with Zeus picking up a relatively early set of BOTs to help deal with some split push coming in from a Nature's Prophet. I think the intention here is very similar, and Lesh loves the move speed as well, especially given that Invasion have quite a bit of lockdown and a lot of kite. Like we talked about, there's all the slows from the Viper, and there's the Beastmaster Boars, which are probably going to prove to be quite annoying. And Invasion just going to keep on pushing at top lane. The Chen creeps get recalled back. And the tier 3 tower stands at a measly 260 hit points. Mid lane is still full HP. And bottom lane, well, we're still waiting for this tier 2 tower to get knocked down. But Invasion slowly but surely continuing to make their way forward onto this MVP side of the map. And Slicks has that Dagon going. It's now up to level 4. Kyo has started to pick up some farm as we were talking about, completing his Battle Fury and settling in for the long haul as he also ends up grabbing an HOTD here. Nice for a couple of reasons. Can try and stack some Ancients. Potentially gives them a little bit of extra scouting information as well. The poor Wildwing Ripper runs into some Beastmaster illusions in a boar here, though. Kyo is going to clear him a path to keep on moving forward. And looks like MVP at the moment are using their Courier to try and scout over in the trees and look for any other weird wards that may have been placed by Boons. But yeah, they aren't finding any. And actually, they're going to have Febby go blinking on over and place an anti-Tinker ward.
Look where Boons is now, though.
I'm on the other side of the map.
Yes, in the exact opposite place to where you're looking. Sneaky devil.
Is this a Hawk? I don't know if this actually scattered any of the movement down. It is daytime. KP staying close behind QO at the moment. They do need to be careful. Too far outside of the base, and this Aegis could just end up getting popped twice. Boone's also going to end up putting down a high ground ward of his own. Do they suspect? No, I think they just want to place another ward over here. But Boone's is coincidentally over the trees. No, it looks like they may have spotted him, but he's still hidden. Death Ward's being dropped. He needs to wait for his blink there to cool down, but the Courier comes flying in and it spots him.
Animation cancelling.
Okay, yeah, I guess he doesn't play with auto attack off, but all right. So they looks like they're gonna. Are they gonna find this ward? They've got the gem. They've got the Courier. They can see it. There's just no ranged hero stepping up to come and get rid of this. It looks like Nut's gonna have to go walking in there. Meanwhile, Viper pops out of an invis Shadowblade mid lane. And they just blow up the poor Warlock. Does drop the Chaotic Offering, and KP's looking for the combos on the WTF. Looks like the Viper will end up falling.
Meanwhile, top lane, Shatan, the Beastmaster, forces a glyph because he's taking racks.
Oh my word. This is some ultimate rat tactics from Invasion, but it's working.
The kill score is 10 to 10. You sort of look at this game and think, huh, okay,
that's
10 to 10
even.
Must be pretty even. Take a look at net worth. Okay, 5,000. It's not that massive of a lead. Experience. MVP are actually leading over Team Invasion. But map control for MVP is close to nil. They have one tier 2 tower. Getting towards the Roche Pit or even getting, across their river is difficult. QO is farming up 2 jungle camps here on the closest side to his own base, and that's been the extent of jungle farming for the past 5 minutes or so. Tinker has been in dominant control. Slicks, again, I'm going to come back to the point that he's still on 2 deaths. He hasn't been touched in the past 15 minutes now. Yeah. He has just been literally rave, sleep, eat, repeat.
So it turns out that there's actually a ward over here that got placed by the Dire, but these cliffs around the edge of the map are tricky, and this one is total garbage. So
that's how they saw him.
But yeah, I guess they spotted him. This one's been around here for a little bit. I just didn't see it. I'm switching to the vision, but I'm not actually really seeing anything from.
Oh yeah, you get
this ward. Like it's not. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't give you even. It gives you a tiny bit here.
Oh my god, is that it? Is that all that they saw of him?
That is all the vision you get. But that's the small avenue you actually walk through. You do get vision there, right? That is like the small, tiny little area here.
Yeah, if you switch from Dire to Radiant, the difference is pretty clear. That you can tell that patch is a tiny bit brighter. But that's yeah, this ward sucks actually.
That is not a ward.
Well, it got them the kill on the line at the very least.
Wow. Okay.
All right.
I was wondering how the hell did they see him? They suddenly started spamming pings on the lion. Well,
I thought they were just pinging to come and place a ward, but never mind. Okay, so Basher's up on QO now.
Refresher on the Warlock.
They are getting items, and we did talk about it that, you know, we get late enough into this game, the Tinker can start falling off a little bit or be dealt with better as more and more lockdown comes down, and Refresher and Abyssal Blade definitely fit that bill. And MVP also do have kind of a lineup where if they win one big fight, they can go and take multiple buildings. You've got maxed out Edict on the Lesh, the right-click damage from the Phantom Assassin is definitely not too shabby, and if you're Golem survive from the Chaotic Offering for a little while. They're also decent units to bring in towards a push. So MVP actually managed to make it outside of the base and moves a 5-man unit down towards the bottom lane. Invasion do slip up somewhat here on the split push. And that means they're just going to have to run down mid and top lanes and get this pushed out. The death on the Viper actually cost them pretty heavily. And what's actually being brought out to the Viper right now? That Silver Edge isn't completed just yet. Just some items being dropped off to Extinct, who has picked up his Aghanim Scepter. You were talking about the experience deficit a little bit earlier that Invasion face right now, but I don't know if it's the most significant in terms of what it's actually doing. Chen, yeah, would like his level 16, but that's ages away. And I guess the Lion as well are probably the two big losers. Earthshaker's doing decently. That's a big source of the difference. Phantom Assassin, of course, is pulling ahead and does have pretty decent stat growth overall, so especially on Agi, 3.15 per level. But yeah, I don't know if the experience is all that worth looking at right now.
No, I was just pointing out metrics.
Exactly. No, exactly.
Don't show anything really. The state of the game.
Yeah, they mean very little at the moment. Roshan potentially up in about 30 seconds time. MVP probably looking towards that again when it becomes available. Invasion still want to try and get this top lane of Rax for free if they can without too much of an investment. Shaitan looks like he's just going for an AC right now, which is just more opportunities to do building damage and whatnot. The BKB that we were talking about earlier is now up over on the Lesh. And Boons, he's been spotted out by another one of these cliff wards, and they're just going to play dumb and then come running in, yules him up. I don't think he's going to be able to get out of here safely. And yeah, Death Ward is going to be the end of his life. Pretty big investment from MVP, but I don't think they're expecting to take another fight within the next 70 seconds necessarily.
Oh, they know how slow down the game has become. Witch Doctor's not too far away from his own Aghanim Scepter, actually. He's got, what, 600 to 700 gold away from it, and he's finished that off. Yep. And high ground defense is just becoming more and more. Well, it's becoming incredibly strong for MVP Phoenix here with Warlock double ulti, Death Ward, Leshrac. It's incredibly difficult for Invasion to actually break that high ground breach.
I think the gem pickup has turned out to be the biggest thing for MVP because they've taken out all of that vision that was allowing for the solo pickoffs, and we haven't seen one of those in a while. They're actually looping all the way around here on top lane. They're going to send Shaitan skyward and drop him down into the stun. Slick's caught in the first Chaotic Offering, going to pop the Ghost and try and escape, but the dagger flies in. And it's going to do good damage. Viper arriving to this fight, but he's just getting crit down by the Phantom Assassin. Nuts retreating back, got hit by the Viper Strike. But it looks like the Shadow Blade from the Viper is going to get him around the edge of this fight. QO jumping onto one more, looks like bringing down the line. They do end up losing the Leshrac.
You have to buy back
the Witch Doctor in the midst of that fight. And yeah, Tinker's going to be forced to buy back.
Not really what you want to be doing. So close to E-Blade or whatever your next item is going to be for this Tinker. You have to spam out March. And if he gets jumped on right now, oh yeah, blink yourself back. Don't get caught with these golems who are zoning so well against Extinct and Slicks. Tier 3 dropping and will fall.
Sixers jumping in, they've got the send back combo. So just some burst damage done. QO could choose to heal up off the Satanic and try and re-engage, but it looks like with bottom lane getting pushed in by Chen creeps and the tier 2 falling, they are going to end up retreating back and letting Invasion poke themselves outside of the base. But MVP, they picked up those items and they went and forced a pretty much immediate team fight with them. March now has a Blink Dagger up, so positioning on the Chaotic Offering should be even easier. Shouldn't have any repeats of the the top barracks.
Shall never speak of it again.
Yeah, let's not talk about that one. We do have an AC for Shaitan, but where is that? So the Silver Edge not there just yet for the Viper. Could disassemble as Sanj and Yasha to grab it, but the Phantom Assassin is still a big problem, and the BKB is still a full 10 seconds on QO right now.
I'm just wondering if that's the reason he's not doing it. The fact that QO has not used his BKB yet, and you can pop BKB to get out of break.
Yeah. Oh, this is tough.
Because SNY right now, you know, taking up one. I guess it would still be the same number of item slots. Not sure.
We'll see. We've got another fight brewing here. One ultimate available in 30 seconds for the Warlock. 2 ultimates available in about a minute's time. And both teams setting up right now. Hawk giving some vision over the pit. MVP going to drop in a couple of wards. As the vision actually goes, the Radiant doing decently. Their ward, their anti-gem ward, placed very defensively over here off to the side. But the standoff begins as both teams are aware that Roshan has respawned the line. Extinct someone on the front lines. The Hawk goes scouting things out. KP going to snipe that with the Split Earth. As it looks like Febby is actually just going to be starting up on Roshan. QO jumping in as well from the opposite side. As KP maintains his position here in the lane, he's going to get jumped and should be blown up before he can do anything. BKB will not be activated. Febby still smoked up, was looking for a jump there, but Invasion not presenting the best because they come jumping out. QO, can he continue the attack on this Viper? Won't be able to. Second ultimate coming in for March. He's up on the high ground, hasn't used it just yet, but QO comes charging in, looks towards Boons, no crit, and the Ghost Scepter are actually going to help keep him alive as he will be able to TP out. Where's Slicks in the meanwhile? Does manage to finish off March over in the Radiant jungle, but the Roshan attempt continues as QO just goes right back to right-clicking away, and Invasion no longer in a position to actually fight for it. So
the first ult from March was so good, but he couldn't get the second one off in time. It was cooling down like 4, 3, 2, 1. Invasion back themselves up, and the March from Tinker going over onto this cliff where March, the player, was standing.
Just kept him trapped.
He couldn't blink.
Oh, no Slicks. Actually, he's all right here. He's got ghosts. He's got lasers. It's only the Phantom Assassin up here. Had the Lestrak been nearby and gotten the Yule Scepter up, I think he was definitely dead, but he's going to stay safe for now. This is a pretty difficult game to play Tinkers. Slicks is just going to throw a few more rockets from the sidelines, keep the harassment up on QO, but this Phantom Assassin went back for the Battle Fury, but has now eclipsed everybody in terms of overall net worth, and doesn't even have the most impressive scoreline, 2, 4, and 6, but 343 creeps. The Shrek has also done amazingly well for himself, 316. And well, we've talked about the lack of flash farm on the Viper a little bit over the past few games, and that is showing up somewhat here, though. The Midas has helped to keep him afloat. In terms of overall net worth.
He's finally finished off that Silver Edge on the Viper.
It's just, the question is, does it matter? I feel like he still needs a big armor item, and then ideally would probably like an MKB if he can get to it. It's just going to be picking up a Diffusal Blade right now, actually, to help deal with some of these Warlock Golems, but
there are 4 of them.
I don't know, yeah, there's so many of them, and the issue is more that the stun is letting QO kill 2 heroes than it is the golems themselves are actually doing all that much damage. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like they need to solve their PA problem. But if they can get a roar on the PA and then hit her with the break, they should be able to focus her down.
Then laser rocket Dagon spam, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. What do you think Tinker is going to go for here? Just more damage. E-Blade's kind of tough to use now because of the extra delay, and it looks like Slicks is just going to be picking up a bit of a safety net as he goes in for the Bloodstone.
Yeah, I was wondering, Bloodstone, Hex, one of those two just to deal with it.
Yeah, I don't think E-Blade. I mean, you can use it to save. You could have picked up E-Blade and used it to save his teammates, but it's a pretty big investment. And as I said, the Bloodstone is somewhat of a safety net. You get the faster respawn, and a lot of the time as Tinker, you are going to be able to build up your charges pretty easily. And I think that's the one thing that MVP have done so nicely. They picked up that gem, and then they just stopped the pickoffs 100%. Everybody say grouped up, farming, implement the buddy system. They're just fine. They're going to go jumping in here onto QO. They get the break, and they get the roar as well. Can they focus him down? They will be able to. It's 96 seconds dead. Moon's getting focused down as the Echo Slam goes flying in, as well as the double chaotic offering. March still holding the second one in reserve, as Viper trying to escape with the Silver Edge, but KP burns him down. It's 1-for-1 so far as the Lion does buy back into the game. The Boar trying to slow things somewhat as MVP retreat as a group of 4.
That timing window was ridiculous from Invasion. The Silver Edge was basically out of duration. Viper was sitting there for ages in Invis, spamming ping, saying, guys, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. QO moves forward, he gets the right click out at exactly the same time as the Roar, and they finish off QO almost instantly with that break applied to him. You know, and then comes in the double rock. March was a little bit low on mana and couldn't get them out, you know, completely stacked as optimally as he would have liked. But still, MVP, decent old fight. Witch Doctor with Aghanim's Death Ward not being used there. Maybe if they had had that, the fight would have been completely clean.
Yeah, that's actually really scary. And Witch Doctor isn't even level 16 just yet, so still room to grow from that. The Fatal Bonds, if March manages to get it off, is going to be a pretty big deal. Stacked up with the Death Ward, and as much as Invasion held there, I still worry for them now moving forward. March can start looking towards an Octarine Core or a, what's he buying here? Lotus Orb, actually, to help out his Phantom Assassin. Ooh. And actually, that's huge. Tinker can't nuke. Lion can't do anything.
Beastmaster can't roar.
Yeah, Beastmaster can't roar. Wow, that is actually the perfect item.
Yeah, definitely.
for March here. I was thinking like, oh, does he buy a Hex? Does he buy an Octarine Core?
Lotus Orb is the play.
Looks like Lotus Orb is definitely the play here.
Coming back to Slicks on the Bloodstone, I think maybe E-Blade would have been his primary option when they were ahead and they were actually making the plays to push up onto high ground. But as the game has sort of devolved into MVP farming and really getting themselves back into this game, he's realizing, okay, it's switched from us pushing high ground to us losing in these team fights and now us defending high ground. And having that sort of mana regen, spamming out rockets and March. You mentioned the respawn time, which is great, just in case he dies. He's not invincible anymore. Yeah,
they're actually really far behind now. 10k net worth and 15k, almost 20k experience. MVP kind of grabbed those items and the team fight started.
QO?
And they just keep on winning. QO goes jumping in, Lotus Orb, Glimmer Cape, everything in the world to help him out. He's just cleaving through all of the Ancients at the moment, actually. His team backing him up completely on the back lines. They've managed to find Slicks. He's going to try for another blink out, but he gets immediately Yules and then drop that into a stun. Does manage to pop the Ghost, but there's plenty of magical damage to go around. He'll be forced into the... He just used the Bloodstone Suicide?
Somehow.
Yeah, I don't know how he managed that.
He denies himself.
Yeah, I guess the Earthshaker was like, hey, whatever, he's dead. I don't need to chain stun him anymore. But they don't get that kill. MVP just going to come charging towards top lane. Shaitan doing his best to keep up the rat game as he makes his way over to mid, but KP's going to come in, clear things out, and he's only 20 seconds away from being able to boots of travel back, especially with this Octarine Core.
Yeah.
Base cooldown 33.75. They go jumping in, they drop the first ultimate. WTF just getting focused, won't even be able to cast a single spell before he goes down. The Phantom Assassin slices right through him, and it looks like MVP are going to cut themselves a path right through the Invasion base. Slicks does have a buyback available, but doesn't want to have to use it right now. And what can Invasion do? Shaitan's even just running outside of the base, but this is looking like it might be over. Unless Slicks can put together some huge plays on his Tinker, but there's just so much to control him at this stage. I mean, Kyo even has his Abyssal Blade back up in about 20 seconds. A couple of rockets, but the Fissure finds him. He's not even able to get in range to drop his Dagon at all here. Does nuke over onto Nuts somewhat, but Glimmer Cape comes out, and that's going to help keep him safe as he heals up off the Voodoo Restoration, and MVP look for the final lane of racks here to potentially close out this game. The Roar was used somewhere, but Shaitan just being a nuisance on the back lines is in the mid. Slick's trying to get the rearm into Blink Away, but all of the AoE damage from the Leshrac really preventing it. And he's just going to get stunned up and brought down. Might be able to buy back and have one last attempt at this here. Lord Quinn's going to jump in, does manage to nuke down the Witch Doctor.
QO.
And yeah, Shaitan going to end up calling the GG. Early game looked good, but MVP held on. And I feel like we maybe didn't give the MVP lineup enough credit. I do want to say that a lot of the big decisions were to pick up that gem and to really reclaim control of their side of the map so that they had more safe room to farm. And then once they had those first couple of items, they had the Aghanim Scepter and whatnot up, they were able to go and make pretty good use out of them with those very crucial smoke